Hey everyone, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. You're in for a treat. This time we have two very special guests with us. Judy Schoenberg and Linda Lautenberg are co-founders of EvolveMe, a professional growth company providing group and one-on-one coaching, workshops, and resources for women in midlife career transition. This is not about finding you a job. This is about finding you, what you really want out of your life and your career. They help you build confidence, navigate change, and set the stage for you to create a career path that aligns with who you are and how you want to contribute. They also provide workshops, programming, and keynote addresses to companies who want to attract and retain top talent. EvolveMe helps individuals lead from looking inward. We're going to hear more about that in a minute. It builds confidence and other human-centered skills that are needed to drive impact and stay engaged. As a background, Judy holds a master's in education from Harvard University and is a former national executive for Girl Scouts USA. Linda earned an MBA from Harvard Business School and holds a chartered financial analyst designation. Say that 10 times fast. She spent her early career in real estate finance. And then something happened. Let's find out exactly what. Welcome, Linda and Judy, sorry. I'm going to welcome them right now. Hello, welcome.
Hi, Debra. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Hi, Debra.
Hello. I'm so glad we're finally getting to do this. I've been talking to you guys for I don't know how many years about this.
I know.
And I want to tell the audience, as I lead the Lean In organization for New York, and I have these monthly circle meetings, they're called, Women's Support Team. In the last 3 meetings, over the last 3 months, more than half of the people who were at the meeting said they're going through some kind of transition and they need help. Felt lost, they felt stuck, et cetera, et cetera. So first I'd like to direct this question to both of you. So the audience can hear 2 stories that they can identify with. You met during your own transitions. So what happened? Linda, let's start with you.
Oh, sure. So thank you first for having us both here. Both of us both made pivots in midlife. I was, as you mentioned, I was in finance. I was on Wall Street. I was, happily working the 9 till 1 o'clock in the morning, and but loving it, right? We lived in New York and then had 1 baby, kept working. And then we moved out of the city, and all of a sudden I couldn't do that anymore. Like, this was a while ago, right? Like, there was certainly not Zoom, there was not remote work, and it was deal work anyway. So it just wasn't happening. And so I took what I thought was going to be a year or 2 off. And that just, then life just kind of took over. I had 2 more children. I wasn't really ready to do that commute into the city. Just living and life changed me as a person. I wasn't attracted to that career anymore. And I guess, always thought something would just fall into my lap. And guess what? It didn't. So 16 years later, I met Judy. But I think I started thinking about going back to work probably like after I'd been out for 12 years. But I was so stuck. I could not think of what I wanted to do. And I tried to Google it out. I tried every which way. I was like talking to friends that had different careers. I had, thought of different things that I wanted to do, but I could not do it on my own. And that also made me feel bad. Like, why can't I figure this out on my own?
Yeah.
And so, just fast forward to now, that's, when I met Judy, we both were hired as contractors at an impact investing firm, and they had a women's program for women returning to the work in the nonprofit sector. And so that's how we met there. But I will tell you that it was really hard once I decided. First of all, I was surprised that I had been out as long as I had been.
How long was that altogether?
16 years.
Okay.
And how did this happen to me? Like, I used to be like the person that was, I was never going to stop working. And I did. And the other thing I'll say is that But during that, it wasn't as if I was sitting on the couch, right? I was doing a lot of other things, a lot of volunteer
Like raising children?
work, raising children, running a household, all of those things. And, we'll talk about this later. But what I will say is that break is that the work that I do now that I love so much doing with Judy, really is pulling from the skills that I developed while I was on my career break, and is not using my MBA. I'm not using my CFA. I'm not using anything that I learned when I was, doing finance deals. It's all things that I learned as a stay-at-home mom and volunteer.
That's amazing. And actually, later on, I want to talk about how women tend to not cherish and acknowledge that they can get that have nothing to do with earning money.
Yeah, it brings out different strengths and different passions, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Judy, how about you?
Sure. Sorry to everybody. I have a little cold I'm recovering from. So thank you so much, Debra, for having us and for that beautiful introduction. I love how you talk about, this is about turning the mirror back on you, right? So, so that's a good segue to my story, which complements Linda's story. As co-founders, we complement each other in a lot of different ways, and our career journeys are one of them. So I was always in the nonprofit sector, mostly focused on women and girls leadership development. And I was at the Girl Scouts of the USA, leading the research department there for 15 years. And I was in my late 40s, and I people stay at Girl Scouts for a long time. Many people have been there for 20, 30 years. So wow. I saw that could have been my path, but I decided that I wanted to change it up, and that I wanted a next chapter. I saw 50 on the horizon. I was, in my late 40s, and I also had young children and 2 kids, and I wanted more flexibility, and I wanted to kind of leverage all of the skills, and especially the research that I had been digging into, and work with women really in a more applied way, doing facilitation and training. And I love my research skills, but and you'll hear us talk maybe about this later, but even though those were skills that I was good at, it didn't light me up anymore. And I felt like I needed to move towards what really fueled me and what I was really passionate about. So I left. I took a leap. It was really
left with nothing.
No, I was lucky I was able to do that and take a leap and take some time to figure it out. And I became a freelancer for a few years, but I realized that it was really hard, as Linda was saying, to figure it out on your own. And I did, Google as she did. I did think I wanted to be maybe an executive director of a small nonprofit, because I was, thought I could do those jobs. But just because you can do those things, it doesn't mean that that's what you should be doing, right? There's like a lot of examining of the shoulds. So I was lucky enough to join this startup where I met Linda. And again, we had lots of different complementary skill sets. And actually, I'm coming up this November, which is very soon, on 10 years of having taken my leap. So I'm very proud of what we've created together, and that we really created the programming that we wish we had. We were in career transition. And we were paying it forward, working with women, individuals and in companies, now going on 6 years, to help them find more meaning and fulfillment, in their work. So it's really a gift to be able to pay it forward like this with EvolveMe.
That is amazing, and kudos to you guys for filling what I know also is a huge need. I talk to women all the time who are stuck, who are feeling like they don't know which way to turn, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't know, why is it? Why do so many women in mid-career or midlife, why do you think they're all feeling like, I got to do something different, I got to pivot?
Well, honestly, what we find, and also from our own experience, is like midlife is really kind of that pressure cooker stage, right? So if whether you're working or not like whatever, like everybody's got their own situation, right? But you might be caregiving for children, for parents, for, you've got your career, you're kind of at the height of your career. There's just so many things going on, right? So you're trying to keep all the things afloat. You're feeling sandwiched between your career and working, or if you've taken a break, now you're feeling like you've lost your professional identity and how can you climb back in? You're worrying, some people are worrying that it's too late to make a change or too late to jump back in, right? You're kind of getting at that age where, and some people, like if you've had your career going all along, you may have kind of been doing, maybe not everything you wanted to do. Like a lot of people fall into their career and then
Absolutely.
family steps in and now you're just happy that you've got a career where you're able to take care of all your other stakeholders when you get home, whether you have children or not, you're taking care of somebody, right? So you're just happy that work is allowing you to do this. So you just kind of keep on keeping on. There's not really any time to step back and say, am I happy? Do I like doing this? And so, and other times we find that people, or maybe they're working and they've liked their work up until a point, but they're not that person anymore. And I never really thought about that. And how do you have time to step back and think about what you'd like to do when you're taking care of you're also supposed to be taking care of yourself, right? At this age, like we're supposed to be lifting weights, doing all the things. So when is there time to really think about that? And then also, again, it's during midlife, is it too late? Maybe it's too late for me. You worry about, I'm outdated on my technology, all those things. So that's really why we created EvolveMe, because what we have found time and time again, and we've done, this is going to be our 12th cohort, Judy? But we even found working with each other that it's not enough to just kind of go around and around in your head, but when you work with other women and you realize you're not alone and that other women are feeling like they're stuck, or like in your lean-in circles, women are able to come together and talk about it. You realize you're not alone and you see yourself through other people's eyes, and sometimes you can get a fresh take on your skills and realize that there's so much more out there that you could be doing.
I have a saying that I like about lean in, and that is, when women support women, magic happens.
Yes.
It's so true.
Love that.
So true.
So true.
Judy, you're going to say something?
No, I just love that saying.
Okay. So, all right. I think pretty much anyone that you ask nowadays, would you like to be doing something else? Anything else? Sky's the limit. Most people would say yes, because as you said, Linda, a lot of people fall into their jobs and then they get tied up with kids, house, mortgage, whatever. And it's too scary to just let that go. But change is really hard. So what should people be looking for, let's say, as their own signals that they're really ready? Because there's so many people will say, I wish I could be doing that, or I wish I didn't have this job. And they wait very long before they actually take a step. So what kind of signals should people be looking for in their own personal lives to know that really they're ready to do something different?
Sure. I mean, if you're working, right, if you're in a job, like really paying attention, like to your energy. Do you feel restless? So noticing like when you feel restless, when the thought of staying where you are, feels heavier than the uncertainty of change, then it's time to go. For me, it was that I always said to myself, I would regret if I didn't make this change. I would regret if I stayed. So if that regret is heavier again, than making the change, it's time to leave. If you are, if you're working, and I think this also pertains to if you're, at home and not in the paid workforce, you're feeling disengaged by whatever you're doing. Yeah. You're feeling underutilized, that you're not contributing at your highest level, or even at any level that really feels good to you right now, right? You may be bored. Or maybe if you're at work and you just feel invisible, nobody's noticing me, I'm not getting recognized for what I've been doing, you kind of get overlooked. And then I think on the positive note, when you start thinking about getting excited, when you're imagining other options, other possibilities, about returning to work, making a change. I also daydreamed a lot for probably a few years about working in an advising or coaching role with women, and I was like, but how am I going to do this? And I have such a great job. People would think I was crazy if I left. This is a dream job, but really my dream job was something that I was, imagining like other than being in my office, in my cubicle. Right. And then, saying to yourself, like, I know I want to do something else, but I just don't know what's next. But I know it's not this. And sometimes, women come to us saying like, I know that I don't want to do this, but how is that helping me? We're like, no, that's great. That's actually the first step.
Step one.
Exactly. Step one is knowing what you don't want to be doing. And then you can turn the focus on really, unearthing, some of your skills and talents that aren't being put to use, maybe in your current roles. Right. And then, of course, like going back to the daydreaming, just thinking about like, what if I did leave? And like, what if I did take a sabbatical? And what if, I worked out with my partner that I could go part-time and then I could try like a side gig or a side hustle on the side or develop my own project or my own business, maybe like just being in that land of what ifs, like that's so right. But often, like, again, as Linda was saying, it doesn't go anywhere because women just feel stuck. They don't know how to take that next step. And it's, again, they don't have other people supporting them to do it. It's hard to do that with friends or with, with partners. So, having like a kind of objective group to go through it with is really important
That makes sense.
I can throw in one other little thing that I forgot, Judy, because I now that you were going through all those things, and I'm not proud of this, but I let myself stay stuck a little too long, and I started to feel resentful. I started to feel resentful towards my husband, towards my family, because I was not doing what I wanted to be doing. And I realized that it was really on me to figure something out. But it took a while to admit to myself that I was feeling a little resentful, that I put my career on hold to support everybody else. And now, now I was coming up on 50, and what was there for me? And that was my big trigger that I needed to get serious about putting myself first.
And that's such
at least on parallel.
Right. That's such a common thing with women. I mean, women tend to take care of everybody else before they take care of themselves. Got it. I want to segue to something that you said before, because I bet there are people on this in the audience who may not have a partner that they can rely on. So what kind of advice do you have? And I think, Judy, you sort of said it, but I want to make it really clear for the audience. What kind of advice do you have for those who don't have a partner that can help support them during a career break or during just a time of, introspection and trying to figure out what's next? You want to take that, Judy?
Oh, sure. Some of the things that you can get started by doing are, again, we just talked about how women are always like delivering for everybody else, right? And helping everybody else. And you started this session about like, this is about you, right? So carving out time in your day, even if it's like the smallest amount of time, like 15 minutes to like take out, a digital device or a journal and like start doing some of the work that brings you back to yourself. And at EvolveMe, we call this like the inner work, right? That career transition, career reinvention, career evolution, however you want to say it, is really an inside job. So taking some time to think about, what are my strengths now? Like if you've been out of the workforce on a break, like as Linda was saying, like what have I been doing, and what kinds of new skills have I amassed because of some of the volunteer roles that I have, like what really lights me up, like what do I lose myself in, what are other, and we're going to get to some of these in exercises, what are think about what other people compliment you on. Like maybe you're somebody who gathers people for book club or mahjong. That's all the rage in my neighborhood. Like if you're like a host and a gatherer, you're a convener, or maybe you're somebody who shares a lot of ideas with other people, with sharing around articles and things you see on social media. Like think about things that you like other people give you compliments on, because sometimes it's really hard to start thinking about the inner work on your own, but other people like have outside, perspectives that they can really add to. And then think about, your values are your North Star. We always do a lot of work around taking inventory of your values. And sometimes our values are constant, like over time, your values won't change, but your values can also like adapt to who you are now, like what's important to you now, and how do you want those things to show up, in your work. Maybe it's you want to really collaborate with others, maybe it's being authentic in the workplace and really bringing your whole self to work. And that's a value that's really important. Maybe it's flexibility, or having some autonomy or creativity, things like that. So just spending some time thinking about, your values and, again, like this work is hard to do on your own. Like when is it natural to sit down and think about your values? And that's why in EvolveMe, we have lots of free resources and on our website and exercises that we help women kind of get started, because the hardest part is just getting started. And we also do, in addition to like our group trainings with the Reinvention Collective, that cohort that Linda mentioned, we also do some one-on-one work. But even like tuning in on a daily basis to like, wow, I feel really good after, I went to pottery class. Like, why is that? Is it because I was with other people? Is it because I was creating something? Is it because I was stretching myself and trying something new? Right. So often, like, we fear trying new things, right? By the time because we're experts, right? We're experts at this point, or maybe we feel like we can never be experts because we've been out of the workforce for so long, we can never be experts again. But having that growth mindset and being open to being a beginner again is like really important. So think about what you could do to like kind of become a beginner and notice how you feel in those situations. Because anyway, we often see that even like taking up like leisurely, activities like knitting and things like that stretches us, and that can translate into how you're thinking about new opportunities and possibilities in your career.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. You said a lot there that I want to talk about.
Great.
I love that you said, it is hard to figure out what your goals are. It's hard to get in touch with your feelings. I would agree. It's probably hard to sit with a blank piece of paper and say, what are my values? What do I really care about in terms of how I live my life or how I live my work life? And I don't think ChatGPT could, actually help with that.
Luckily, right.
Right. So why are we stuck? What holds us back? I know there's general fear, there's a lot of self-doubt, which, women are sort of great at compared to men. There's like the devil I know, and not wanting to leave that devil that you know. What can you say about like why we're so stuck? Is there any kind of nuance beyond what I just said?
I mean, I think that, from our experience, women are stuck in different places. So there are a lot, maybe the majority, I would say at least more than half of the women that we talk to, or my friends that are still out there trying to figure it out, it's because they don't know what they want to do next. They just don't know. That's where I was completely stuck. And some of it's just not knowing what even could be out there, right? Or not knowing enough about what the other opportunities are. Because either you have been separated from the workforce, or you've been in the same industry so long, you don't know what the other possibilities are, right? Like there was one woman that we worked with that had been in fintech, but working in the government in California, and she'd been working for the government in fintech all her career, and her workplace had become really toxic. She really wanted to leave, but she felt trapped because this was all she knew. And she really wanted to get into the private sector, but she just knew government. And so once she was exposed to people that were on the private side that had, like in the end, she ended up working for a huge national retailer, and she's got a big job there. But it took other women seeing the skills that she was using. Now, this was happening, like, I think just kind of towards the tail end of COVID, and saying the exact kind of work that you're doing is so needed in retail right now. And that was their background, because everybody's buying everything online right now. And so, but she could not have seen that from the spot that she was in, right? And so I think that's one of the things that keeps people stuck a lot. Sometimes another group might have an idea of what they like to do or what they would like to do next, but either they need the confidence to do it, or they're not sure what step to take, what's the first step to take, or it's a confidence issue, or sometimes, and this is with all the love in the world, the people around you know you a certain way, and they kind of like you like because that's how they are, and so that's how they see you. So if you've always been you and doing the same, a marketing person, and everybody around you sees you as a marketing person, it's hard for somebody else to, it's hard for that group of people to see you as something else. So that also, the people around us who love us very much can keep us stuck as well.
That's very interesting, because you're right. Because I think when someone, whether it's a family member or friends, if you say, I'm a marketing person, but I really want to be a dog walker, people are going to look at you kind of crazy and think, like, how could you leave that job to walk dogs? But if that's what lights you up, that's what you should do, right?
Yeah. And then I guess one last thing would be, we tend to focus on what we can't do instead of what we can. If you brought home a report card and it was all A+ and 1 C, what are you going to focus on? All of us type A personalities out there. We're going to focus on the C, right?
And women in general. I mean, there's a lot of data behind this.
Yeah. If there's a list of if you start going out onto the job boards, which that's a whole other can of worms that I know we'll talk about later. But if you start doing that and look at like the job requirements, and there are 10 things, and you see that you can do, 8 of them and not 2, or half of them but not the other half, you're going to say, oh, they'll never talk to me, and just not even try, right? And maybe throughout the entire industry, okay? Whereas, we love men. It's not women versus men, but you're right. It is kind of a uniquely female thing. Whereas a man might look at that same list and say, I got a couple of those, I'll try.
Absolutely.
So we
100%.
tend to be very perfectionists. We want to get it right every time. And that can keep us stuck, wanting it to be perfect, thinking that the next step that you take is got to be it for the rest of your life. That keeps us stuck as well. Instead of just taking that one little micro experiment and then taking another step and then just see what happens.
Right.
It's all
just try
information. Just try new things, like Judy said.
It seems that, if you do make a pivot, you'll learn some new skills from that. And maybe you could pivot back if you found out that that's really not what you want. I mean, how many times does that happen? Or do people generally make their pivot and stick with it?
People's careers are very zigzaggy nowadays, So but you can't know until you try. And if you try and you don't like it, as Judy said before, that's more information. It's just more information.
So can you give another example of someone who, came to you and was really stuck and how they got unstuck?
Sure.
A success story?
Yeah. So you mentioned dog walker. We actually have something that's maybe a little parallel to that. Not dog walking necessarily, but we worked with this one woman. She was so cool. She was had a crazy career in venture capital. She was so successful. And she had been laid off. She was really successful, but like venture capital, that's just kind of like, that's the industry, right? She was laid off, and she really wanted to start a dog training business, of all things. She wanted to go live in Oregon, get out of the city, and start a dog training business, which was about as diametrically opposed to what she was doing as possible. But if she was going to start her new business and start this whole new life, she said she felt like she needed 5 more good years. right?
Okay. Good
So
years meaning earning potential?
earning potential. Yeah. This has happened. We've seen this before with other women when they're thinking of, they've got this dream. But, and this also I was thinking about this when you were asking Judy about, women that don't have a second income in their life. Right. So you're kind of tied to the money, even though you have a thought of something else that you'd like to do. So in those instances, what we've seen women do is get another job, get the next 5 years, or stay in the job, but have a plan. And in the background, be working on that dream. Start building those clients, start building that business, start working on your business plan. Bank that money so that then you can start launching that other, so that you can start launching that dream job.
Got it. So side
because
hustle.
it's not like everybody has the ability to just quit their job and go, throw spaghetti at a wall, right? Like that's just the reality. We work for a lot of reasons, but one of them is our livelihoods, right? So we've seen a number of instances where you can kind of work on that in the background, especially if you have, some kind of a personal board of advisors that you can put together that can help you figure out how to do that.
Sure. Well, it's very much having a personal board of advisors, if you will, is very much akin to what you talk about in your group coaching and what I talk about in my Lean In circles. It's all about having people who don't have their own vested interest giving you objective advice or ideas, et cetera. So that's very cool. You were talking about, women have a lot of self-doubt and how prevalent that is. I can't do this job because I only fit 8 of the 10 criteria. How do you help women silence that inner critic?
Sure. I can talk a little bit about that. It is very, very prevalent. And even like the most accomplished women, have this like running thread of that inner voice and
the imposter syndrome, right?
The imposter syndrome, right? And so, so one of the things that we, one of the things that we do to help women silence the inner critic is really to take stock of their accomplishments, right? If they're feeling like this, I don't have what it takes, my skills are outdated, like we have, like kind of a recency bias, right, towards our accomplishments. Like we think about like maybe the what we did most recently, and maybe it wasn't something that we did in the workforce, but maybe you took a break and you were out for 5 or 7 years. You go back that far, right, and think about what you're proud of, like what you have accomplished in your career, also what you have accomplished, in your volunteer work. And once you start thinking about that, like it gives you kind of, a boost. When one of the things we're talking about, the Lean In circles and our cohorts and doing this work in groups is that so often we keep our inner voices to ourselves, right? Yes. We think we're the only ones experiencing them. That is what, causes imposter syndrome. And then we found, and there's research that backs this up, is that the more that we are vulnerable with each other, right, and we're able to give voice to our inner voices, chances are the woman sitting next to you and across from you have those same voices in their head. So they become kind of normalized and they lose their energy and they lose their power over you because they don't define you. They're things that you can control, right? And other people have them, right? And so, and even men have them too.
Sure.
You've been talking a lot about women, but we also run workshops with women and men, and we hear that men also experience, these inner voices, and naming them really help. Maybe you want to call them like, okay, that's the doubter, right? That's the doubter surfacing. Oh no, okay, this voice, that's the perfectionist, right? That's the perfectionist. So like the more you kind of objectify them, like they don't control you, right? So there's examples of people even giving them names like, oh, there goes Jenny again. She's telling me like, I can't do this. And like, I'm just going to put Jenny on the side and I'm going to focus on, what I know I am capable of. So really, kind of getting them, you want to get them outside of your head, right? So
Right.
also like writing them down can help. And we do an exercise in the Reinvention Collective training where we create we flip the switch, or we flip the script rather, on our inner voices, and we create positive confidence mantras. So like if you are feeling these voices are coming up and they're keeping you, because why are these voices important? It's because they hold you back, right?
Yeah.
They hold you back from taking that step, from going to the meeting, from having the conversation, from believing in yourself, right? So
Right.
if you have something to replace it, right, and we have this whole tool of going through creating a confidence mantra, then that's going to be what you go to if you see it on your, a sticky note by your desk, or you have it somewhere on your computer in your notes, things like that. So
Right.
there are ways, they're very concrete ways to control them, but it takes time. None of this
Yeah.
is, you flip this, you snap your fingers.
Not that quickly.
Come on.
Right. There's a lot of data around how important not having negative self-talk is to your brain and the neurosynapses and all that kind of stuff, that it really has an effect. So it makes sense what you're saying. You start to think, I'm not good enough. Replace that with, I am good enough. At least for that moment in time, it seems, you've had a more positive self-talk. And if you just keep practicing that, it's going to take over. Yeah? Is that how it works?
Yeah. I mean, what you're saying is true, right? And there's research about this too. Like your thoughts lead to your actions and your behavior, right? Your thoughts lead to, your attitudes about yourself, right? And what you're capable of. And that leads to like your actions and your behavior, what you'll actually do. If you're thinking these things, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, I don't have the skills, I'm too old, I'm not tech savvy enough to even, dare to go into that workplace, you're not going to take a positive action, right? And so we don't want our thoughts to hold us back, and that's why replacing those kind of negative self-talk with something more positive, more productive.
Yeah.
Right? And we're not saying we're not talking about like being Pollyanna, like it's all going to be it's all going to work out, like it's all going to be okay. Like, no, like say like I am adaptable. I've dealt with hard things in my life. Like I can get through this, right? So even looking at other places in your life where you've done the hard things and you've gotten through it. Like I've gone, a lot of the women that we work with have gone through health crises or divorces or things like that, major transitions, right?
Right.
And gained a lot of strength from that. So looking at other areas of your life too, where you've come out on the other side as resilient, can really help reframe the inner voices that are holding you back in your career.
Right. I love that you just said that about resilience, because there's a lot of data to show that, and we'll get into this later because I want to do a little exercise first, or have you guys do the exercise. But there's a lot of data to show that a lot of soft skills, as they used to be called, like critical thinking, collaboration, and resilience specifically, is one that a lot of employers are looking for right now in particular. Because I think, we got so used to, hiring people that can just do this. So, we need some adults in the room. So, did I just say that? I would like to have you lead the audience through some kind of exercise, something they can do right now with us that will help them, whether it's, building confidence or some kind of resilience. You take it away. And people in the audience, if you are feeling stuck, it would be very interesting for us to see, what do you think is holding you back? Just put it in the comments.
Yeah, we'd love to see that. Okay, sure, I can lead us through that. This is one that Linda and I love, and we always say in EvolveMe, if you can't see it, you can't be it, right? So we are going to think about the future you, right? Okay, so we're going to do a little mini visualization about the future you. So for everybody who's with us, if you have a pen and a pad, or if you have a device, you can jot some responses down to some of these questions that are going to help you create a picture for hopefully what becomes part of your compass going forward in this transition. So
I'm gonna do it old school.
Okay. Great.
We love old school.
So if it works for you to feel more grounded and relaxed when you're doing this, put the rest of your day out of your mind and close your eyes and picture yourself a year from now. Okay, and then think about what's one professional achievement or accomplishment that you're really proud of.
That we're proud of right now.
Right. So it's a year later. Picture yourself a year later. Yeah. And so you're thinking, I'm so proud that I did this thing, or that I made this connection, or, whatever project, or, whatever comes to mind.
We love our pets. Is there anything you want to add to that, Linda? Well, oh, you're not muted anymore. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead and finish.
Think about how it makes you feel to have had that accomplishment now. And then think about, we talked a lot about strengths and being in touch with, that inner work, your strengths, your values. Like, what strengths did you use to accomplish what you're proud of? And just think about, for the purpose of this exercise, 1 or 2 strengths that you used.
Just to be clear, we're not talking about looking backwards and think about those strengths, et cetera, and what we're proud of. We're thinking about our future selves.
Right. So if you did something this year, let's say, and you're looking back a year from now saying like, I wrote the book, right?
Got it. Okay.
So let's say you wrote a book this year and you're looking back next year. I wrote the book. How does it feel? It feels amazing. I've been waiting to do this my whole life. It feels like I've really arrived. I'm just doing this as a demo. What strengths did I use? My communication skills, my empathy, my storytelling skills, right? You want to also think about what values did you live when you were when you did that project or that work, or that, when you had that accomplishment. What values were you really living? How were you being true to who you are now?
So this is all kind of imagination, dreaming, but I guess if you're really sitting with yourself quietly, you can really see it.
Yeah, I mean, the best way to do it would be, I think, to make it even more concrete for everybody, is write it down at the top of the page, like what that accomplishment or achievement is that you managed to do this year. And you're looking back, and on it for a year from now.
So now looking back.
September 25th, 2026. You're thinking about all these things.
The idea behind this too is, is that you want to think big. Like, you don't get too wrapped up in whether
it's
you can don't get too wrapped up in whether you can do it or you have the degree to do it or whatever.
Got it.
The point of this exercise and this visualization is to, like, if you didn't have to worry about any of these things, and you could think big about, a year from now, what would make you so excited, proud, fulfilled that you did that, because that can be really telling.
Yeah.
Right?
I can tell you, for me, very clearly, very quickly, I finally got an Emmy for my talk show.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So, you want to think about...
It would take more than a year.
Well, you got to start somewhere, right?
Right.
You want to think about who you were working with, right? What impact that you made, right? Who did you impact with that Emmy? Like, what happened as a result, right? So thinking about all these things, right? Thinking big, as Linda said, thinking about the strengths you used, your values, why this is important to you. What will it, what impact will it have on people? And this vision, this vision is the start of your compass, right? And what's important is that having this vision will help you filter what fits in right now and what doesn't. right, with your work life. Like if, some people just take on things because they're good at them, or people ask them and they can't say no, and it kind of fits, like it's something I've done before and it kind of makes sense, but it really doesn't fuel you. You don't feel excited about it. It doesn't feel like that big thing, right? Or that, how you want to, a lot of women too in midlife and beyond are thinking about their legacy, right? You're thinking about, what are the things that I really want to do now? Like you're seeing, the runway in front of you is maybe getting a little bit shorter than it was in your 20s and 30s.
Yes.
So what are those accomplishments? What are those big ideas and dreams that maybe you put off to the side, or, like they weren't on the table, 10 years ago. And now that you have maybe a little more time to think and think about what the next year or 5 years or 10 years is like, to create that space for yourself to dream bigger, right? And so this is the start of that. And we go into this in much more depth, like in our training. But we hope everybody who's listening got a slice of what it's like to think about you in the future.
And you mentioned about free resources. Do you have a resource that kind of can guide people to think about the things you just said people should think about? Because I don't know about you guys, but I might not remember. I should be thinking about this. I should be thinking about that. Is that one of your resources?
No, we actually have on our website, if do you want me to, on our website, we have a freebies tab. If you go to our website, EvolveMe.work, we have a freebies tab with several free resources. And sometimes just downloading something like that will just be that first step that just gets you thinking. I think for this audience, people that are thinking about career transitions, we've got an entire Get Going guide that is meant to be downloaded to just let you just start the process, just start the thinking, brainstorming about your strengths, your values, other things that Judy was just talking about. Okay. Sometimes it's just taking that little first step that'll kind of get you working.
Got it.
And it'll give you some structure for your thoughts rather than Googling like me and Judy tried. It doesn't work.
Hey, ChatGPT, what do I really care about?
I know.
So speaking of structure, you guys developed a program that you call DARE. Can you tell us about that and how that all works?
Sure. So it's, the Reinvention Collective, like what Judy and I base it all is this DARE method that we came up with. And it really, again, is working on what you want to do in your next chapter, but focusing on the inside out. So rather than diving headlong first into your resume and LinkedIn and then starting to send out a bunch of applications, which for a number of reasons is not the best course, but a lot of people are tempted to do that because it feels like you're doing something. So I want a new job. I want to go back to work. Let me update my resume. But if you start doing that right away, you haven't given any thought to what it is that you want to do next. You haven't thought about what skills that you want to bring forward. So with our DARE method, DARE stands for Discover, Amplify, Refresh, and Embark. So in the discover phase, that's all about digging deep and really trying to think, what do I want to do next, right? What are my strengths? What do I care about? What am I good at? What do I never want to do anymore? No matter how much they pay me, no matter how good I am, I don't want to do it anymore. All of that kind of deep thought. It's deep and juicy thought. It's best done with other people. It can be done with a coach, but the more kind of, if you've got some good people involved, that's always better. Then we move on to amplify, and that's where we move into the confidence piece. So remember, I was saying some people are stuck. What do I do next? Some people have an idea, but they don't have the confidence to do it. Right?
Absolutely.
Whether it's at re-entering the workforce or making a significant pivot, both could be really scary, right? Outside your comfort zone. So there we work on developing your confidence to make at least, if not a huge, bold move, maybe just that next move that kind of gets you in the right direction. And that's where we also develop what we like to call a pivot pitch, how you talk about yourself in the future instead of when somebody says, what do you do? Always starting in the past and giving, talking about what you're excited excited about going forward. And once we've kind of really gotten in touch with ourselves, so at least we have a couple options of where you might want to go, then we get into the next phase, which is refresh. And that's when we get into updating your resume and updating your LinkedIn, because now you know what you want it to say, right? You know what you want to highlight. You know what, maybe you'll just leave off. Okay. And so then, because these are your marketing materials, so they need to be saying what you want to say. First, you have to say understand what you want to say. Does that make sense? So then after refresh, then we get to embark. So now we take this whole story that you've come up for yourself. You've got all your marketing materials, your LinkedIn, your resume, a personal brand. Now you're ready to really start networking and talking to the people that you need to talk to figure out where you might best fit in. And we know that at this point too, the best way to find your next chapter is not through sending your resume out to hundreds and hundreds of people. It's always going to be through relationships. It's always going to be through networking. You can only do the networking well if you really understand what you want to do, if you're excited about it, and you know how to articulate that. That way, when you are talking to people, they know who you should be talking to next, and the next person, and the next person. And that's where the opportunities lie. I've met so many people, I'm sure you have too, Debra, that they're so discouraged because they've sent out 200 resumes
or more.
Nobody's getting back to them. They're either getting a no, or worse, it's crickets. And you put your entire life, all your accomplishments, all the wonderful things you've done in the world on this virtual piece of paper and sent it out to the world. And how rejection does that feel? How much rejection are you feeling there? That is not going to boost your confidence. It's not going to help you make a next move. So that's why we really start inside out, and it's all in the end about the networking, and then of course interviewing skills. So that's why.
So much sense. It makes so much sense. Just a real quick story to elucidate how true that is in the business world. I used to work for an advertising agency when we were doing a pitch for a big drugstore chain, and we were in competition with a whole bunch of people. People had their, at the time, overhead projectors. Probably people in the audience don't even know what that is. All their stuff, all the stuff that was going to make them look great. And these big presentations. And my company, this was not my idea. I wish I could say it was. We walked in with blank pieces of paper in a manila envelope and a bunch of pencils. And there were 9 people in the room on the client side. And we gave them all a piece of paper and pencil, and we said, we're going to give you 5 minutes to tell us what your goals are. And they all came up with different stuff for the most part. And we won the business because we said, if you don't know what you want, how can you communicate that to us to help you amplify it to the public? So what you're saying makes so much sense about how important this introspective work is. Because you can't just look at a job board and say, oh, well, that sounds good, right? Just because it sounds good. Maybe the title is good or compensation package sounds good. It's really becoming apparent of how important it is to do that inner work first, really.
Yeah, and also like what you're saying is about the communication piece is so important because, you know, in addition to the job boards, like we know that, 80% of roles are secured through personal and professional connections. And people can't help you unless you're clear about what you're looking for. And so the more, the longer you stay in this ambiguous space and you haven't done that work, it's going to be harder to really land a role because you're not going to be able to be clear and communicate what you're looking for, the role, the industry, why, the story. So it really is a very important piece to the puzzle that so many women and men really miss the mark.
And when you're clear, when you have that clarity, we like to say that's when your sparkle comes out. And it truly is. It's like when you see somebody go from, I don't know what I want to do, to like having that clarity and then suddenly talk about what they're looking for to do. It's like all their sparkle comes out and you become a magnetic person. And people are drawn
Interesting.
to you and are excited to help connect you with the right person, or give you
Sure.
feedback, or give you input, or tell you what their day-to-day work is like.
Got it. Yeah, that's true. And you're right about the networking thing. A lot of people are so afraid of it. I interviewed a woman who runs a business called schmooze.biz, and she was an introvert who decided she had to learn how to network because she knew it was important. She also had taken a big career break. And she says some really interesting advice. Instead of feeling like, oh, I have to sound impressive, I have to sound like, I have the best education or won all kinds of awards. Instead of trying to impress the other person that you're trying to network with, ask how you could be of service to them.
Yes.
Because everybody needs help in some way, somewhere. And if you sort of open up the conversation with, how can I be of service to you? Whether or not you actually can or can't remains to be seen, depending upon what they want. But that's a great way to start networking and not feel like you're selling yourself.
Yeah.
So it's so important.
Yes, absolutely.
What, a slightly different thing now, I'm pivoting. When someone's roles in their life, when their jobs seem very non-linear, and they weren't 30 years in one career, but they were like all over the map. How do you frame that into a strength as opposed to, oh, they're a job hopper?
Yeah, I mean, one way to do it, and this is really important for career changes and career pivots in general, but if you've had a lot of pivots, to look across your career and across the roles that you've had about what transferable skills are a theme throughout your career. And those are the things that we talked about, or Linda mentioned, the soft skills or the power skills, as we call them,
Right.
Communication skills, adaptability, leadership, problem solving, all the things that are important in the evolving, workplace today, and see like where there are themes, and more than ever, like careers are not linear anymore.
Yeah.
Millennials and the generations that are coming up have redefined what a career even looks like. Like people switch roles like every 2 years on average. And so, gone are the days when people like have this linear path that they stick to. And so, there should be like no shame, around having, different kind of roles across your career. I think that if you can create, the key is to create a story or a narrative around it. And you don't have to talk about every single, so this is where we also see women, take a misstep, is that like you don't have to talk about every role that you've had since you graduated from college. Like we often see resumes that look like at this point, because we're older, that they have 20 jobs on their resumes. You have to just be really targeted and really lift up the roles and experiences across your career that speak to the kinds of roles that you want now. So you're not, and that's about like telling a coherent story. And that also, takes some time. So you don't have to talk about like the job hopping, over the last 20 years, but you might want to take, lift up 5 or 7 of those experiences that roll up into being, a digital storyteller now, or whatever you're looking at. So
Got it. Okay.
And also there's no stigma and less shame around having, career breaks and pivots, like especially after the pandemic, like, and that's normal now. And there's even places to put it on LinkedIn if you've had, breaks or change in status.
Interesting. We're almost out of time, and I know you guys work a lot with companies. Just a real quick, how do you help people who might want to transition in their company? They like the people they work with, et cetera, but maybe they're feeling stuck, not learning new things, wanting more responsibility. How do you help them?
Well, to be honest, we actually don't, like when we work with companies, we're not so much helping people change jobs as much as though doing some of that inner work again, like understanding what it is that lights them up, what gets them excited, things like that. And then also working on those skills like voice and visibility that sometimes can be a little, more difficult for some, so that they can advocate for themselves and try to find those opportunities, like have conversations with their managers about maybe, making a lateral move or working on a project that maybe would satisfy some of those growth opportunities they're looking to have.
But I guess it's really, you're doing the same thing for people who work in companies and people who don't. It's all about the inner work. It's all about gaining that confidence, etc.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that's great.
Well, that's actually why Judy and I started this work, because we wanted to pay it forward and help. We felt fortunate that we found each other, lucked into this opportunity, and launched our company to help other women because we had felt so stuck.
Right.
And then by doing this work, we had companies reach out to us to ask us if we would do programming within companies. And you're absolutely right. That inner work part, because clearly we're not telling everybody how to update their resume, but that all those inner work pieces, which all goes to confidence, voice and visibility, finding your spark, all of those things, it all goes to helping people love their job even more, or finding a new place within their company where they can be happier. And in fact, some of the women that have come to us to change jobs have actually gone out, gotten another job offer while they were working, and then realized, wait a minute, everything I wanted was actually here, and then gone and made the lateral move within their company. They just needed the confidence of the outside proof, and then felt confident enough. Like one woman that was at a big law firm comes to mind, that she thought she should go work for a nonprofit because she needed more purpose in her life. She actually got this amazing offer to a nonprofit, and then said, wait, I think actually I will miss the law. And she went back and arranged something so she could kind of scratch that itch at work and have it all, which really that's what it's all about.
She became a happier person. I mean, that's the end goal here, right?
It's the end goal.
Inner and outer happiness. Ladies, we are out of time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I really think that what you're doing is amazing. I've been following you and your company for, I don't know how, I guess 6 years. Because I think I was one of the early members of your newsletter. In any event, I really appreciate your time. And Judy, I especially appreciate the fact that we made you talk, even though you have a cold.
My pleasure. I was saving myself up for tonight. So
okay, great.
My voice.
Anyway, audience, thank you so much for coming. I hope you found this helpful. Go to EvolveMe.work. It's not .com. EvolveMe.work. Take on some of those free resources. And if you have an opportunity and the means to work with these women, wow, they're doing such amazing work. And if you don't have the means, join a lean-in circle, because it doesn't cost anything. But they're professionals. So that's it. With that, I will say good night, and thank you all so much.
Thanks, so much.
Debra.
Thanks.